I got Goober Town hobbies in my nose. I call the go puff and I get myself a ghost. I got a fruit forward IPA and I gotta say, hey, it's Friday. I got Goober Town hobbies on my nose. I call the go puff and I order some ghosts. I get a fruit forward IPA. I gotta say, hey, 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 it's Friday. Yeah. I think that's probably about enough of that particular song. Greetings, programs. It's your old buddy Hankerin Fernell here. Welcome back to Runehammer. It's bright in here. What's all this light? Hey, man, did you just see a real bright light? You can't take your pants with you when you time travel. Just don't forget about that detail, because when you show up in the future, or if you're going into the past, you're going to show up no pants. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. It's your old buddy here, Ingrid Bernal. Don't get too worried about this weird camera angle. I know it looks like we're in like a dorm room painting crew right now. We're about to clean out the last semester's student body and repaint all these dorm rooms. That's like the vibe I'm getting right now. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at me. Look at me. I'm in a chair. I got a t-shirt on. What's up, y'all? It's nice to see you. Now, thanks for participating in the little poll that I ran there this afternoon. But before we get too crazy, it's time to have a little Maine lunch. Those of you who aren't familiar with the Maine lunch, oh, she tasty. Oh, she tasty. She's so good. You're hanging out in Maine. It's the middle of the day. You're thinking to yourself, I need lunch. No, what you need is one of these little golden babies. So we're just screwing around here while everybody files in. We got a fun topic today. It's a real hands-on kind of a thing today. Oh, look at that sunshine. Woo, Lordy Lord. There's a reason to be alive, and it's beer. Hi, everyone. Okay. Yeah, so as work continues on numerous things, and sometimes we have a little bit of a lull in our regularity of our sessions in summer because everybody's like going on the vacations and doing all this fun stuff. So in that interim, obviously getting Crown and Skull done. If you're not up on that latest news, get in there and find out. It's going to be legendary. It's coming up. And thanks to everybody who's been helping me. It's been a large group of people helping me battle test this stuff, which we've been doing now for quite some time. But this is the final stage of like, every little piece of wording really, really matters. So thank you, everybody. You know who you are. Thanks a lot. But also in this sort of, summertime mindset, not only is it a great time for liquid sunshine, I got to keep topping off here. Sergei Topov. I met a man once named Sergei Topov. He would always fill my mug. Cheers, y'all. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be just fine. So in that interim, obviously, you guys have been watching as I have been like leaning in on some drawing projects, right? So the Morut is right over there, the legendary book. So I'm going to keep working on that one. But I did a little poll today because I had a series of ideas that I wanted to share with everybody that wasn't just about the Morut. So the Morut is a large format, and I'm using fountain pens and Sharpies, and there's really very little technique going on. You're just completely going on instinct. Every mark that you make is final. I mean, you're drawing with a Sharpie, like there's no pencil, there's nothing. There's no way to really, push your precision. It's all just going on muscle memory and stuff like that. So that's one style of drawing. That is definitely the style when your confidence is just through the roof. But through the roof. Just that's so inconsiderate to Ruth. Don't go through Ruth. Tell her about stuff and get her approval first. Anyway, so on the other side of this coin, we have what is much more common in our drawing lifestyle. Now, I know a lot of you out there are drawing for whatever purpose it may be, just for chilling and doodling, or maybe you're drawing bits and pieces of your RPG tabletop thing, or maybe you're just drawing because drawing is freaking awesome. whatever. You all know me. I draw all the damn time, all the stinking time. And the more normal modality of drawing is like working on a drawing, right? Trying to get it to look where you feel satisfied with it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I've got my Remarkable over here charging on the wall. So hopefully the battery will be happy for this stream. But I'm going to be using the Remarkable 2 today. It's a drawing tablet, but it's going to give me a tool that's going to let me show you a lot of these techniques. And I think we're only going to really cover like about 3 to 5 little tricks that I can share with you, because obviously I'm not the master either. But in my opinion, sometimes the learner can be a good teacher, because you're kind of like, running next to each other on the track rather than the coach sitting in the stands. If you pick up what I'm laying down, if you can dig on my airwaves, you know what I mean? So let me grab this Remarkable real quick. Okay. See, this is an actual room. This is not a Zoom background. I'm here. Okay. You're like, oh my God, Hankerin has a bottom half of his body. He's not just a max headroom torso. Yes, I'm a real human. All right. So let's turn this little bugger on. Now, I know it's sad, but I'm going to swing my crane here over, and we're just going to be looking at this guy. I think my battery is well charged now, and you're going to kind of see a little bit of a reveal on, what some of this stuff looks like before these kind of techniques are put into play. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you this stuff. Okay, so let's take the camera on over. Get your pen and your paper out so that you can work along with me, because that's how we do this drawing thing, right? It's just like Commander Mark back in the day. Yeah, and Christian, appreciate the question. Before there are any more questions about the Remarkable, just a blanket statement. I don't use anything that this thing can do except drawing. I don't do PDFs. I don't. All I do is use it as an extremely simple drawing tool. My relationship with tools is I really like to find the simple, best function of a tool and then lean in on that and just ignore everything else. I even do this with complex tools like InDesign. But yeah, grab your pen and your paper. Let me just, Sergei Topov must pay another visit. Sergei, if you will. Zdrovia. All right, here we go. I've got debris in my, all right, come on over. Come on, don't be shy. Yeah, come on over here. Here you go. Come on, buddy. Come on, let's go. Let's go together. Come on, we can do this together. Let's do it. Yeah, there we go. That's going to be great. We're going to go together. Right? And so like any of the fears or distractions you have about drawing, any of your worries about how good or bad or whatever, we're going to set all that aside for now. We're not going to focus on that aspect of things. We're going to focus on the happy side. All right, there we go. Nice. Isn't that wonderful? Let's get this clutter out. We don't need that. We got enough white wires in our life these days. Slante Park, what's up? All right. Okay, there I am. Hi, I'm up here. Okay, so here you're looking at my tablet. Boop, there's the pen. One great thing with the sequel is that they added a magnetic pen, so you don't lose your dang pen like you used to all the time. All right, so as long as everybody, hey, I'm right here, can hear me, which I know you can. Let me just get where I'm nice and comfy here. This also gives you a better view of my sunlit beer. It's always weird when you have things in your face and you're trying to draw. Okay, this is pretty good. I have a little bit of a thing in my face, but let me move. Let me just. Okay, great. All right, so all I'm going to be using here is a couple of super simple tools. Right now, what we're looking at is like a top-down map that I was working on. And I don't know if I ever even really put this. I think this wound up in something. Isn't this in use somewhere? Anyway, so this is what I would consider sort of done, This is a dwarf that I was working on, and it's not done. So you can see where I've kind of got some progress, working in this sort of vibe up here, but then I have this whole section down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back to this later. Okay. Um, so now here is what I would call a finished piece. And you can tell, like, my style isn't like really intensely focused on precision. So you do have some, a little bit of wiggle on some lines, and there's some shenanigans. There's a couple lines that kind of don't go anywhere. And sometimes my perspective isn't like totally on point. But this piece to me has a lot of good feeling to it, and motion and energy and life, and you can feel the presence here. And so I kind of call it done and move on. Okay. So that's just an example of like where we're headed. All right. So just as a reference point. Here also is a completed piece. So this again is on my kind of current kick, which I'm on, which are the frog kin of Crown and Skull. So we can get into that on some other stream, but suffice it to say, for now, I'm working on these cool, like, sort of Japanese inspired frog warriors. And so there's a piece that I would also call done. You can see there's still some kind of wacko lines. Like, look at that little line right there. There's a teeny one right there that's kind of just like coming off the drawing. A couple little perspective wackos. They're kind of, the feet aren't complete. And so precision in drawing isn't always about making sure that every single aspect is cleaned up and finalized. That is definitely a style. If you're doing a cover for a Marvel mag or something like that, yeah, you're probably going for that. But to me, precision is also sort of knowing when to stop and knowing when to keep a couple spots loose so that the piece has sort of life and humanism and energy. Okay, so that said, now we go into the scary zone. So here is a piece that I kind of started on, but I started getting kind of frustrated, and it was kind of the end of the night, and I got tired. And this is where we're going to get into some of these things I wanted to share with you, okay? So let's kind of just hang out in this piece for a while. Now, one thing I love in the new Remarkable is that you can use the back end of the pen as an eraser. So anything that keeps me from using menus is a feature I like. So let's just get rid of some of the stuff I don't like. And remember, this isn't just like how to draw. Let's just start a drawing. This is about precision, okay? So I'm going to keep some of these little parts down here that I like, which it looks like I have like a belly here, and I have a couple of little 2-finger frog hands, right? And I have, looks like, some pants. So I'm not necessarily going to be talking about the instincts that help me draw these knee pads, how I do some of these little details, and how I don't really know how to do perspective, to be completely honest, but I kind of wing it. And we're not really talking about all that. What we're talking about is the precision aspect. So before I can get to precision, let me just work for a minute. You guys can listen to some soft jazz in the background. Since I can't, the only music I can put on my streams would be original music. So I just kind of have to just do this in quiet, do some wrist run. So let me get some of the basic drawing in, and then we can talk about precisifying, okay? Okay, so now I've got some of the basic piece. So kind of feeling some vibes here. I've got a little bit of a sort of a mismatch on where these shoulders are. I just like sort of fighting my eye a little bit. So I think that these need to be sort of down up here a little bit. Okay. And then I started noticing myself doing one of the techniques I wanted to talk about. So I kind of had to stop a little bit. Okay, there we go. So he's kind of got like his little frog stomach is out. He's got various straps, kind of too many straps here. It's getting a little silly. Like this big one's a little too much. There we go. He's got a little bit of a breeze going. His hat has this kind of frayed top. So one of the things you probably already noticed me doing is pulling like really quickly. And you could do this with pencil, or obviously with a tablet like this. It's a little bit hard to do with a pen because sometimes the pen will give out on you. But when you can pull a line quickly like that, you'll get really, really slick lines like that. Like, look at how flawless that line is. Just because I pulled it so quick, there's no time for it to wiggle, right? A lot of times wiggling will be the number one enemy that you will feel. And I bet everybody out there right now is nodding your head with grim understanding about how shaking, just like in miniature painting, is a constant enemy when you're drawing. Okay, so I've got a few tips, and let's talk about that first. Is stop. You notice I didn't draw these arrows yet because I'm a little hesitant, right? Drawing the straight shaft of an arrow can be a little intimidating. Like I don't want to screw it up and make it all wobbly. So I've got a couple of tips to fight shaking. The first one is what I just mentioned, which is speed. Okay, so like let's say I want to draw another line right here. So you see how both of them I didn't like that, like decisive and quick. Now this can be scary. It can be scary to just go ahead and draw like a fast line. But if you pull your lines generally for the beginner and a little more advanced, you can start pushing lines. But the quicker you do the line, the less wiggle it will have in it, like shake. Now, I've got another tip that you're going to laugh at, but it totally works. Get yourself a large stainless steel ring like this, sort of almost the biggest ring you can find. Don't do the index finger because your pen will hit the ring. This is bad. Okay, take the big ring and put it on your ring finger like that, or your middle finger, I guess it's called. Okay, and the biggest, heaviest ring you can find. Now, just join me, grab your pen again, and set your hand back on your piece or near your piece. Like here, I have my hand beside my piece, right? Right away, you should be experiencing what I'm experiencing right now, which is that your hand wiggles far, far less when you have a big, heavy ring on. So now I'm going to get my canvas into my ideal position, which is about like this, to where my arm can move the most natural. That's a feature I just don't like. Here we go. I don't know why they added scrolling. That was dumb. I just did it on accident. Ugh, that's horrible. I don't need to scroll, you imbeciles. Like, how do I? Oh, why did they add that? Oh my God. How do I fucking get back to where I want to be? Oh, I did it on accident with. Oh my God. Oh, that is the worst feature that they have added. See, this is why I always talk about like, I hate when they add features to tools. Just give me a single rectangle canvas. Oh my, oh, it's so frustrating. That is so annoying. God, I hate digital. I hate things like this with such a passion. There, good enough. Okay. Thank the gods. All right, so here we go. So back, we have our stabilizing ring. Oh, it's 2 fingers. Is that the deal? Stupid. Yeah, better have it. Good point. All right, so here we go. without further ado. Now, having trouble with this, I'm doing it kind of in the advanced way. The easier way to draw arrow shafts would be to turn my canvas and pull these lines and do them faster. Now, my lines may not be perfectly straight, but they're confident lines and they don't have wiggle in them. And that's what I'm really going for as far as precision goes. Okay, so now we come up and do the fletching. Of course, this frogkin archer is using goose feather fletching, so you've got a couple of little stray bits here and there. And notice too, I don't like fixate on all kinds of specifics. I just want it to look like a bundle of arrows, not necessarily like drawing all these specific arrows. Okay, so anyways, that's some of the first tricks that I wanted to talk about. Was like confident speed, like burp, like that in your lines, and then also the ring trick. The ring trick really, really works. I don't like that he has his belly showing. For some reason, it's disturbing me. So we're back to spotting, right? But spotting is in my sort of fundamental drawing course, I guess you could say. And we're not doing that. We're just doing precision. So let's give him a couple armor plates here. I don't really want that. More like that. Do these kind of like slat plates of armor. And then he has like one big kind of symbol in the middle. There we go. I like that a lot better. So did you notice I just did those techniques? So do you notice how like, like, look how I didn't do it on some of these other lines. You can see my confidence. Like, it's visible. So it's crazy. Like, even in my own work, this line right here, there's not a lot of confidence. Now, is that going to ruin the piece? Hell no. You know why? Because we're awesome. So you just go back to a line you see that's got like jiggles and little jaggies in it and stuff like that. You see that? And then just do your confident version. Now, where your confident version digresses from your other one, fill in that teeny little gap. And now I've got that nice, clean, strong line. But it's also saying, wow, how come all the other lines aren't nice and strong like that? Well, we're going to get to that in a minute. And see, right away, I didn't even realize I was doing it, but my instinct took me to go do the same thing elsewhere. Draw a line that's already there, draw it a second time, and then fill in where you screw up, because you will. Your hand will not perfectly follow where you drew before. So do you see how I'm already kind of doing, just by sheer practice and just have muscle memory, really, what I'm recommending? Oop, like that one, that's going to be harder to erase, so I'm going to use my undo. And that is obviously another trick. If you're using a tool that has undo or that has an easy eraser, use them a lot, because that's what's going to lead you to getting the results that make you feel happier about your work. And that really is the goal, is to feel satisfied with what you're drawing. So we're talking precision. So those are my first two tricks. Draw with this sort of speed to your pen motion. Like this line right here is uncanny how clean it is. It's so clean. Like, it's crazy. Like, no, not even like a vector tool could do a line that clean. So as far as precision goes, if I'm going to go back in and darken that line, boy, I better move with confidence, because I'm going to screw it up if I do like, like this. Oh my God, so not cool. I mean, it's not that it's not cool, but it's not precision, which is what we're talking about, right? So let me undo that. There we go. There's that really clean one. Okay, so let's say I just need to darken this line in. Set my canvas up to my ideal angle, right? This is where I'm pulling my pen right toward my body. Get ready on that line and confidently do that. Okay. Now, if you can see, I'm pretty sure you can see right there. See where my second time I tried to draw that line, I missed it right here. I kind of came off it and screwed up. Instead of feeling like I screwed up, that's your opportunity to increase your precision by filling in the deviation between the two lines. See what I did?
Now, I know that this is just one tiny little area of ink on one drawing in one little video on YouTube, but if you spend a lot of time drawing and being frustrated about your drawing, this should really hit home. That little area was sort of a mistake because of speed, and now it's a cool sort of shadow, and it's leading me down different sort of roads, right? Different possibilities, and it's kind of pushing my piece a little bit. And then this process is just going to continue and continue and continue. Okay, so let's keep going and talk about precision. So precision also means getting this sort of clean, finished look. And sadly, this next step is pretty big. It basically, this next step says whatever your thickest line is, or almost your thickest looking area, your whole piece is going to have to answer to that. So right now, you should be looking at my piece, and it feels like a few little areas here are kind of almost looking done. Like whatever this is, some kind of strap on his chest. It kind of almost looks done, right? Like it looks kind of cool. Let me fuck with it for just a second. I'll just put a little loop on it. Like there's a little cloth loop on this little strap. Okay, so let's say that area just kind of looks done and tasty. The whole piece is going to need that much ink on its various lines to look done. The reason that this piece doesn't look done right now is not because I drew it badly. It's because the line weights are all so different. And so to get this precision, you're going to need to match it all up. And in order to do that, you're going to just draw your whole drawing again. Okay, so your first drawing is this rough. Now, a lot of people, this would be their pencil. And then they would go to pen, and then they would go to this next step. Okay, I'm, pretty experienced. I got like 30 some years of doing this. So I always go right to my first pen. But now I'm going to treat this as a solid sort of first drawing. And I'm just going to draw the whole thing again on top of itself. And wherever my second time misses my first time, I'm going to fill in that little deviation. And this is what's going to give me this look like it all has the same heftiness to the lines. Okay, so if everybody's following me there so far, I'm going to go ahead and do this. It's going to take a minute. So smoke them if you got them. Pour yourself a beer. Listen to some music. And let's settle in. You guys know me. I don't make 10-minute YouTube videos for looking at on your phone. That is just not something I do. I get into things a little more. Okay, so just hang out a bit and let's do this. So you see how I'm just basically using my drawing as a guide, and I'm just drawing again. I'm not coming up with anything right now. This is completely mechanical. I'm not making any decisions really, except sort of just where to go ahead and fill in some gaps where lines don't match up. But really, all I'm doing is just believing in that first drawing that I did. I used to, in my earlier years, I used to call this arbitrary intention. And arbitrary intention was my kind of cool word for you make it seem like you meant to do that. So you take a lot of little mistakes here that happen from drawing fast. Like, remember how quickly I drew those arrows and how imprecise and messy they were? Well, I just, be kind to yourself when you're drawing and have fun and tell yourself, I meant to do that. I meant to kind of jumble up those arrows. And look how much energy and life that bunch of arrows has. Rather than just telling myself, I need to draw exactly 4 arrows, instead it's how arrows actually kind of bunch up in a quiver. Okay, so I got to make sure I don't do all the techniques at the same time. I feel myself wanting to jump to the next one. Okay, so again, just following the lines I've already done, which I already did here on a few of these lines. Now, I know this is like a really specific focus, but I know that a lot of you watch Runehammer because you're also artists. And I have a lot of shortcomings in my art skills, but one thing I do really have under my belt is time. I have been doing art professionally for a very, very long time. And the kind of art that I did professionally really had its value in its communication capability. Not necessarily that I can draw better than anyone. It was more that I could communicate ideas. That's really where I came in with my profession. So of course I have doubts about my ability and things I can't do that disappoint me and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that no one can ever take away from me is the time that I have put into this is insane. It's just insane. All right. So anyway, I'm doing exactly, remember what I mentioned. Drawing the lines I already drew and believing in them. Like the chin here on the frog. Is it the perfect chin line? Is this the perfect mouth shape? I don't know, really. Don't worry about it. Assume that you meant to do all this. It gives little nostrils. Assume that you knew what you were doing and just retrace your lines. And when you miss, like I just did, or like I did right there, or like I did right there, fill in the difference between where you missed and the first drawing. I'm going to turn my canvas, get to where my hand can comfortably move in its ideal axis. Rather than trying to turn my body or change my hand position, move your canvas. Okay, now I'm going to redraw these lines and believe in them. Okay, so now here I'm coming down to this is a tough one. Oh, see, I missed it. You see that? Now, to a lot of people, they would go, oh no, I got to hit the undo button, right? Like I missed the line that I was trying to accent. But don't be scared. You're going to miss all the damn time. Fill in the gap between your miss and your first attempt. Okay, so let's finish up. Again, redrawing the drawing I've already done. And I'm fighting my instincts a little bit here to make sure that I'm not adding anything, because that's another step we're going to go through. So I'm literally just trying to read. Oh, see, I missed right there. That feels like a mistake, but then I fill it in, and now this line has a nice weight to it. So I just let myself be a little sloppier next time. Whoop, I missed again. Fill in the gap. There we go. Okay, oh, bottom of the pants. It didn't feel right to my hand, right? The angle felt weird. So I got to get back to this kind of comfy angle. There we go. Oop, see, I missed. But it's not a mistake. It shows me where to fill in. And I know I'm being repetitive, but that's because this is a mantra that if you want to really try some of the techniques that I use, you're going to want that mantra. Now, what are these lines right here? I'm not sure. This looks like a remnant of armor, something below his armor near his belt, or something. I don't know. But remember what we agreed on? I'm going to pretend that I meant to do all this stuff, that it was intentional. I believe in my original choices. Whoa, I missed that line by a mile. It's okay. Boop, boop, oop. Looks like I already went in on this one and missed, and now I'll just fill in the gap. So that missing it's an engine for generating choices about how thick the lines are. And finally, we'll get these toes done. Whoop, missed a little bit. Whoop. Didn't really miss there. Kind of nailed it. Okay, oop, there I'm starting to do my next step. Okay, great. Now tell me you don't feel how that adds a vibe of precision to my piece. But how did I really do it? I did it by just going over what I drew already and believing in myself and believing that I meant to do all of it. And then filling in where I failed to be perfectly accurate. Okay, now I'm just because of sheer instinct and habit, I'm like jumping to the next step. Okay, so now there's a little bit of a weird feeling. So if you really sort of are dedicated to this stream and you're really like here to sort of hear me out a little bit. Oop, I'm starting to add things. Don't do that. Then you're going to be looking, you're going to be sort of scouring this piece or the piece that you're working on as you follow along. And paying attention to your own mind to check for feelings you might have. And one of the feelings I have right now is I get a little bit confused when I look at this. I'm a little confused in here. What is all this stuff exactly? What are these straps? Is this armor? Is this his garment? Like, it's kind of just a mess of shapes, right? And in my mind, when I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of just a mess of shapes. I'm not sure where his arms are. It's just the whole thing's a little bit unclear. And so what I want to invite you to try now is the simplest form of lighting imaginable. Okay, so before you panic, because I always panic when I think about lighting because I am terrible at it. Okay, now a lot of artists can portray volume and shape and light in such amazing ways. I'm just being honest with myself. This line never got redrawn. There we go. But I'm going to show you a method to imply lighting. And you know what? Here's a huge secret. And if you look at all my art over the last 8 years that has been on YouTube and into my art that goes way back before that, all the way back to the mid 90s, all my art, almost universally, there is a light that is coming from the top right of the canvas, just like this. Right? That seems crazy, right? It's just how I live. And if you really want to be precise, if you look at the motion of my pen, all my art have this light source. It goes toward my subject from the top right. Very, very rarely I'll do some crazy underlit thing or some kind of dark shape or whatever. But 99.9% of everything I do, the light is going like this. Now, you're not going to think about that. You don't have the habits I have yet, but you're going to try this technique. Okay? We're going to do two things. First of all, we're going to darken things that are far away. And then we're going to darken things that are the opposite of this. Meaning, if something's down here, it's darker. But I'm going to make it even simpler. Okay, so let's do the far away step first. And the first thing I see is the back of this hat hole at the top of his hat. I'm just going to fill this sucker in. Okay, so now why did I fill it in? Because it's far away from me. Well, wait a minute, Hank. Isn't the quiver far away from you? Yes, it is. Good catch. Let's work on a few things that feel like the back of the character. Okay, so I'm just going to be looking over the character, and anything that feels like it's on his back should be dark. Okay, so let's just take that as a rule first. Looks like there's this little bit of cloak or something that's back here. This looks like it's behind him. These I already intuited. These straps are behind him. This one, I think I'm leaving in the front, but it almost looks like a golf club or something. I think I'm just going to bag it. I like that better. And instead, I'm going to add another little tie. And this little tie is, again, behind him, so it gets filled in. What else is way in the back? Oh, something down here. Here we go. Behind his elbow and under his upper arm, there's a little section right in here. All right. Same thing in here, behind his elbow, sort of back in there, right? In the sort of the cavity of him. Let's see. Wait a minute. Where's his other toes? Well, there maybe is one visible down there. Okay, maybe one here. See, that's his other foot behind the foot. But things that are behind are dark, are filled in. Since we're working in black and white, there's no slightly dark. There's only one color to do. Okay, so there's the back foot. Okay, most of this is now sort of in the front, right? I think I'm feeling done there. Wait a minute. What's that? What's that little thing right there? It looks like maybe a collar that's behind his head. So it's dark. And then where's the other collar? I don't know. It's over here somewhere. Let me just add a little. There we go. Okay, scanning. All right, our quiver is definitely in the back of the piece, isn't it? I'm going to have to face that reality. Whew, I don't want to. Actually, it doesn't matter what I want. Yes, it has to be black because it lives back here. Now, just to save time, since we're on YouTube, I'm going to switch to my marker really quick. And look at this. I'm going bold, you guys. I'm going to live by my own lessons. Remember, we're working on techniques to make your work look done, to make it look precise. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my normal pen. Okay. So do you see how the magic just happened? Look at that. Like the quiver is now behind him. Now that's a big blob of black ink. So we're going to want to break it up a little bit because to me, it just feels kind of heavy. But wait a minute. Also, it feels like maybe this is a material too. Like maybe this is a dark leather and it needs an attachment. It needs to connect. Like here's the strap that's holding the quiver. It's also dark. Wow. You see that? The magic that just occurred. Like if you can't feel that, you're going to have trouble refining your drawing. Like that is, to me, such a huge difference. Okay, now I'm adding. Don't do that yet. Sorry. Okay, now we're going to do the second part of shading. Remember, I told you there's two parts. The first part is things that feel far away from the camera. Remember, the light's going this way, so the light can only get so far. Well, it's going this way to be specific. So the light can't get back there. So it gets darker, things that are behind the character. The second one is, wait a minute, if the light's going like this, things that are the opposite here are darker than things that are up here. Okay, so now a little, a notation we can give is we can say, just to remind ourselves, we can do that. And we can say dark down here. And then we're going to look at the piece and we're going to add some ink. Okay. So let's see. I want dark things down here. So when I look at his face, okay, this is the light side of the face, right? And then this, since my rule, would be the dark side. So I'm going to just put, bloop, I'm going to put a blob of ink right here. I guess that's the shadow where his chin is above his neck. And then look, there's sort of a shadow where the hat is above the face. Like, actually, wait, let's just put ink over here. Forget about where shadows are. That's complex. So now I'm just going to start working on the bottom sides of things that are away from the light. And I'm just going to add ink. I'm not going to think of it as lighting. I'm going to tell myself I'm just adding ink. Because there's something about that that's easier for your mind to deal with, especially if you're learning. I'm just going to add ink. It doesn't have to be a shadow or lighting or shading. Those words are scary. So you see what I mean? This side of an object, like a hand, is bright. This side is where I put the ink. The underside. Remember how earlier I said, oh man, if I'm kind of confused when I look at some of the center of this piece? The confusion is starting to go away as I play with this method. Right? The bright side of this like big fat belt right here, let's add little holes so it looks like a belt, is up here. This is the bright side. The dark side's down here, so I just add ink. I don't know where the shadow is. I don't know where the edge of the object is. I don't know if it's round or if it's square or whatever. There's a little straight line right here. All I know is there's a place to add ink and a place not to. Up on top, I don't want to add ink. Down on the bottom, I do. And that sets your mind free if you're worried about heavy duty words like shading and lighting and stuff like that. Okay, whoops, I'm getting into the next step. All right, so I don't know. Is everyone with me? Am I crazy? Because to me, this is starting to pop like way more than it did in the beginning. Especially if our lesson here is precision and like getting a piece to look finished. The difference from the very beginning is kind of crazy. Yeah, digging it. Now, just because the way my canvas works, I just feel like I need a little room to breathe. This doesn't really involve precision. It's just a thing that I need. So luckily I'm using this kind of tool. And I'm just going to use a little less space with this guy. This kind of lets me do one of the final steps I want to show you. Kind of get him where he's breathing in the canvas a little better. Okay, cool. That would be a very different stream to talk about what breathing with the canvas and composition and all that kind of stuff is all about. Okay, so now there, I just started doing it. But before I get to, excuse me, whoa, before I get to walk away from this sort of where do I put ink question, I need to make some corrections. So you can either use an eraser right now, or maybe you plan this in your pencil phase. I'm just going to use white ink because I have that luxury right now. So I'm going to take white ink and I'm going to live up to my lighting rule. Remember, light comes from here. So things on this side of various shapes need to have less darkness. So I'm going to take a little bit of white and just look at that side of things and remove some ink. Now, I guess if you wanted to, you could call these highlights, but I'm kind of get scared of words like that. To me, this is just, if it's on this side of things, you remove a little bit of ink. So this side of things, right? So there's, I guess, what you could call a highlight. There's like some little shapes on the little laces and stuff. You know, this is all just fun. There we go. That's all I really needed. Back to black ink. Okay, we're looking cool now. So we're talking precision. So now I'm seeing just little areas where I have sort of a desire. And in some of my other videos, I call this spotting. Spotting is the skill where you scan your piece and wait for your mind to tell you it wants something, or something's missing, or you're craving more somehow. And that's going to be our next step. So remember, our first step was like fast lines, like pulling and using the ideal angle that your hand wants to move. Then our second lesson, draw what you drew a second time and fill in where you miss to get this finished line look. Our third lesson is like trying to use adding of ink to make things less confusing, to do what in a more complex mindset you would call lighting. But in a simple mindset, it's more of a graphic sort of decision to make shapes pop out and get more satisfied with your shapes. Okay. Now, finally, we're going to talk about adding detail. Now, detail is another really scary word. Like, oh my God, hankering. Do I have to draw like a bunch of little bullets? Do I have to draw like, fingernails? Do I have to, this kind of stuff? No. For the sake of this exercise, detail just means let your mind seek spots on your piece where some little bits can be added. Just a few little pen bits can be added to the piece. Add is the key word here, okay? So just watch sort of how I do my piece, and hopefully that can inform a little bit how you can add detail to your piece. I know I want those lines there, but those aren't the right ones. Luckily, I have undo. There we go. Okay, so just getting a feel for what maybe this line is, but I know that my mind wants one there. No, not quite right. But for the sake of adding detail, I still know I'm right. No, it's like the design on his armor, sort of. You feeling where I'm going here? There we go. Just had to calm my hand down a little bit. Some of these are filled in and the other ones aren't. So that must mean for precision, I need to fill them in so they match. Little patch on one knee. That might be it. Oh, wait, no, I'm seeing little bits. Like, this looks like I meant this is like sort of straw over here. Looks like I was implying. I had no idea he was going to have like a straw shoulder pad. But remember, I'm going to trust what I did in the very beginning as if I did it on purpose. So, ooh, yeah, it's kind of like he has like a straw. So straw also ends kind of rough, right? It always ends with these little fibers. Yeah, cool. Okay, wait. Fibers. Hey, fun idea. His hat also has like a straw vibe. So add little fibers. Now, this isn't a big deal, like something I need to know how to draw. They're little lines. They're just additions. Yeah, now, if you can feel that, if you can feel what I'm feeling right now, you probably are some form of artist, which is sort of this satisfaction about how such detailed things as we're talking about on this stream make it work. And notice in a lot of cases, all I added was like a couple little dots and ghibli bits. I didn't do shading. I didn't do anything fancy in any way. All right, now I'm going to give him like a little piece of ground to sit on. Oh, notice there I did one of my steps. Turned my canvas because my hand is comfortable moving this way. Right? Like this. This is really comfortable for me. So instead of being uncomfortable and getting a crummy line, I move my whole canvas. And even there, you may have seen something I do by habit. I guess you could call it a little bit of a tip. Is like, do you see this? I'm not drawing right now. What am I doing? I'm sort of just getting ready. I'm practicing. I'm like feeling this little stroke. I'm like, yeah, it's going to be kind of like this. I'm just warming my brain up to go whoop and commit to paper, especially if you're drawing in ink. You know, sometimes a little warm up can be really handy so you're not quite so scared when you commit that piece of ink to paper. All right. I'm still adding little things. What the hell is this stuff? I call it dirt, but it really helps drawings look finished. Here. See that? They're just teeny weeny little dots of ink, but they almost make it look like there's sort of like there's air. There's air around him. He's in a space. And talk about a silly technique to just add a couple little dots around your piece. All right, so we've done a lot to make this piece feel as if it's precisely drawn. You know, there's something missing here. His bow. And you know, this highlight is distracting the hell out of me. So what I just did it again. What am I doing? I'm sort of vibing. Could this be his bow? Maybe it's like no. Now, what am I doing? I'm trying to figure out what composition demands of me right now because I just simply don't know. There we go. Now, this is on his back, so it fills in. Sick. So it's almost like a fisherman's bow, right? It's like got a really kind of lightweight vibe to it. Now I'm kind of feeling like there needs to be a really deep area of darkness. Just ink. Remember adding ink. Just tell yourself adding ink rather than it's a shadow or it's lighting or whatever. Just something is beckoning me to do that. Something is beckoning me to do this. I'm still following my rules, right? This side of the character should be darker than the rest because of my fundamental rule. Great. Feeling close to done now. So now I guess what am I doing? I was just kind of rubbing my chin and looking at the comments real quick and wondering, sort of, am I done? But there is something missing. And I think it's like right here. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm just going to do this. Now, did I have some good work there? Sure. But let it go. Doesn't matter. If the piece isn't working, just keep working. I feel like there needs to be something like that right there. Now, I think I could probably write an entire book about what made me think that. Something about composition, something about, rhythm in a piece, or how the eye flows across a piece, or what makes things look. I really, it's very hard for me to explain. And this is why I make a poor teacher. I'm not sure how to tell you that was important. But something in my soul knew that there needed to be a design here. Now, the frogkin in Crown and Skull are inspired by Japanese culture. And so what could I put right in this sort of almost like a buckle, like a sort of a fancy decorative buckle for this big belt that he wears? What could be in there? Like a lotus of some kind? I don't really know how to draw a lotus. I think it's kind of like this, and there's 5 of them. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so it's like a little 5-petaled flower. Now, I just did that key step from earlier, and I did it without even realizing I was doing it, which I drew something once, and then I just drew right over it again. Yeah, I mean, there is, of course, calligraphy in Crown and Skull. Not necessarily a focus for what we're talking about right now. Calligraphy has been something I've been really leaning in on quite a bit. I think also, remember how we discovered this kind of like hay or straw kind of armor piece that he has, almost like he had to replace a proper shoulder plate? I think maybe it needs to show its face above this strap. Are you with me? And I guess, oh no, I would never put to House's question. I really powerfully trying to avoid making any direct reference to Japanese calligraphy. To me, it's like maybe a step too far of sort of like leaning on their cultural traditions. It doesn't feel quite right. So I'd rather stick with their decorative motifs like flowers and spirals and clouds, and I feel that sort of pays homage to them rather than sort of making up a sort of a made up calligraphy language that kind of is like a like a guy at a Kenny Chesney concert with a Chinese glyph tattoo on if you catch my meaning. I'm not trying to explain that in words, but okay, so let's do this straw shoulder plate thing. Something's calling me to do it, so I'm just going to finish that. So I'm just kind of doing these sort of random little stem shapes, which stems are really just little rectangles, right? And then I just do my steps that I do. So I just go back over what I drew. Then you've got your adding step where you put little teeny dots and little bits. And that's all I really wanted. So it feels like he's got like this sort of straw kind of tucked in over here. Yeah. A little more air. And notice, here's one of our other rules. I look at my overall piece and these pants, these big sort of knees that he's sitting on, he's sitting like sort of cross-legged. The weight of these lines isn't quite as absolute as some of these lines. So I need to fix that. That's precision. That's finishing. Adding ink, as we like to say, a term that doesn't make us get tangled up in concepts of lighting and shading. You're just adding ink to make things even. I'm just adding ink. That's all I'm doing. And over time, of course, there are different degrees of how skilled you are in the application of a simple concept like adding ink. But it's the word that really helps. To me, anyway. Let's see if this can fill in and feel good. Yeah, there. See, because that's behind his elbow. So his arms start to come forward. Remember how I couldn't really spot his arms earlier? His arms feel a lot easier to see now because they're in front of darkness. Chiaroscuro, as it's called. You can look up chiaroscuro on your own time. This stream will not be an education in chiaroscuro. Cool, man. Feeling this character now. He's sort of gloating. Let's real quick see if a pupil is going to be okay with this character. Nope. A lot of times you got to be really careful with pupils because they can either make a character feel really alive or really silly, and like pupils, you got to be really careful because a lot of times in real sort of photography and in life, you don't really see a lot of a pupil. You just sort of see a dark shadow where the eye is. You kind of have to be up close and really see a pupil. And, frogs don't have pupils like this. That's just ridiculous. They have little horizontal pupils, kind of like goats. Now, there's just one little, again, just sort of spotting little errors. This little guy is just a little bit off center. And since I have the privilege of using a digital tool, I can kind of just adjust that just slightly. But again, there's that spotting skill, where you're just scanning over the piece again and again and again and again. Like right here, I see there's a weird spot where this part of the bow is a little thicker than this part. So just add a little ink. Get it to feel more continuous and more smooth. There you go. Yeah, just kind of get those shapes to feel continuous and smooth. Smooth is a strong word too, to have things feel precise and finished. They're smooth. They don't have a lot of super rough edges. Generally, the eye associates roughness with mistake. Not always true, but it is a viewer assumption. So to that end, I'm smoothing. And that's probably our final tip for today is smoothing. Wherever you see like rough lines that have almost like a sawtooth edge to them, like right here, just add a little ink to smooth off that sawtooth. And maybe it's where you hesitated or you made a mistake or you deleted, you erased something. But again, you're sort of scanning, looking around. Here's a rough line. Smooth it out a little bit. It's kind of rough up here. Smooth it out a little bit. And obviously, some places, rough is cool. It's what you want. But if it's not what you want, get in there and smooth it out by adding a little ink. And I think I might be done. I don't like this little highlight. I don't think it worked out. It wasn't needed. There we go. That's cleaner. I'm going to connect that line. I'm going to connect this line. Just kind of breaks his hat into more pieces. Yeah. Pretty dope, right? I want to add the fade to fog effect to be used on a character is in many cases quite silly. You would have to be in such immensely dense fog for something that was further away from you. And also it inverts the rule. When you're working in fog, the closer things are darker and further things are lighter. So yeah, that does work, especially on buildings. But I don't employ it much on characters. So again, this is an insanely specific sort of live stream about insanely detailed techniques. But lately I've really just been on this tear about really trying to not be derivative in my own space as far as role playing and stuff. And what I mean by that is to focus on my generative aspects, the aspects of what I do that are creating things to be in the world, not talking about things that are sort of already in the world. And that's just a personal thing. No shade against anybody. That's just sort of where I'm at on my journey. I don't really want to give opinion on things. and I just really want to focus on like the making aspect. Just adding little, I don't know, honestly, I don't know what I'm doing. They're just little ghibli bits, little touches. I don't know why they matter, but they do. I think the center of this lotus, oh wait, no, it's not the center. It could be the outside of it maybe needs a fill. I'll do this in one stroke so I can undo it in one undo. Nope, too dark. Makes it look like a hole, right? Because things in the back are dark. So even if I color in like the center of the flower, which was my instinct, it looks like a hole in his body. So I don't want that. So I'm just going to leave it just like it was because the light is in the front. There we go. And I hopefully, yeah, you get a pretty good, you get a cool thing there because the bottom is slightly out of focus and you get your real focus point up here. Yes, Durst, I could absolutely do cross hatching. That is not a thing I generally do on character pieces. Cross hatching is a sort of a whole nother, honestly, can of worms. I'm not going to open right at the moment. Let me see. So when I look at the YouTube view, I have a few stray lines on the arms. See if I can get some precision fix-ups. Okay, so this is spotting at its best, which is where I'm actually looking at the YouTube on my monitor. And I noticed a couple little stray lines that are confusing where my arms are, and they're these. Now, not all stray lines are your enemy. Some of them add character and life to your piece. But if you try to look at your piece with an objective eye, like a person who's viewing it for the first time, some lines can distract, like that one. Great. So those are valuable little cleanups to make his elbows stay nice and clean and pop forward. So for the sake of demonstrating precision in this video, I'm feeling done. Okay, so I'm getting my pen down. I'm going to remove my ring of stabilization. I'm going to have a drink of beer. So with all that in mind, we can look at some of these other pieces. And you can see how that happened in these other pieces. You can see sort of some of these steps in play, if you will. Right? So here we have like this part, I started doing all the steps. And down here, I just have my first drawing, and I have a long way to go. I have to fill all that in and redraw all that and choose where the dark parts are and add little dots and do all that good stuff to make that piece feel complete. Now, in something like a map piece like this, there's a lot less to worry about. Here we have a piece from my campaign. So I actually made this into a foldable miniature. Here I'm just doodling. And that's the beginning of that particular set of pages. So there's our piece. And with that, my friends, thanks for tuning in, you guys. I'm hankering for an ale, and I hope this helps you with the millions, the innumerable challenges that come with refining your drawing practice, and more important than refining it, enjoying it. When you get positive endorphins because you're drawing and you're having fun, that means you'll come back and draw again. And that positive enforcement loop is the way to get better and to have even more fun and be more happy with what you're drawing. So I hope these little techniques helped you, and happy weekend, everybody. Happy Friday night. Keep it real. Don't steal. You always get a deal. And I will hit you up on that old internet. Keep an eye out for your man, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. I'm out of here. You guys have a great weekend. Peace. Birds. Birds. Birds.